Don't settle for bad socks. Get comfort and grip at an affordable price with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Choose from 18 different colors at puregripsocks.com.
Here's a quick guide on how to know if you're wearing the wrong football boots for you. You might really want to play in Mercurials, but you might actually play better in a pair of Predators. Because while objective performance definitely matters, there are certain intangible elements as it relates to personal preference that will definitely have an impact on your ability to perform to the best of your abilities. So if you want to find out if you're wearing the right boots for you, stick around, watch this video, leave a like if you find it helpful and informative, and maybe if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2023. Sizing, fit, and comfort. It might seem obvious, but if any of these three things aren't exactly right, it will impact your performance negatively. And at a time when the vast majority of people are ordering their football boots online, it is critical that you are honest with yourself as it relates to these three things. When it comes to sizing, as a general rule, you want to leave as little space as possible at the end of your football boots while still maintaining a comfortable fit. If you leave too much extra room, that's going to allow your foot to move around inside of the boots, which can result in so many issues. And when you're talking about a high-end football boot in particular, they're designed to fit as close to your foot as possible. So if you can't get the sizing right, everything else pretty much will suffer. And if you want a little bit more of a detailed explanation on exactly how much room you should leave, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen to a video that explains that. When you talk about fit, it's in reference to the general shaping, width, and volume of a pair of football boots. A great example is the Nike Mercurial, which was kind of founded on this super tight, low profile, low volume general shaping to it that almost has this squeeze your foot sensation. A lot of people really like that, and if you have the right foot type for it, it can result in a very positive experience, both in regards to comfort as well as overall performance characteristics. However, a lot of people try to wear Mercurials or really tight-fitting football boots in general, when in fact, they're not exactly the right boots for them. And while every brand does their best to accommodate as many foot types as possible within different types of profiles as far as overall shaping is concerned, at the end of the day, everyone's feet are shaped differently, and depending on the shape of your feet specifically, a certain football boot that you really like might not fit you correctly. In other words, you have to be honest with yourself, because sometimes the boot you really want just might not fit you the way that it needs to. The best way to find out what fits you best is try on several different pairs of football boots of contrasting styles, and then just be honest with yourself, because you might be surprised at how much more comfortable you can feel in a pair of football boots versus what you've currently been wearing. And then when it comes to comfort, typically if you get the sizing and the fit right, the comfort will just fall into place. So if the boots you are currently wearing feel uncomfortable, whether it's a cramping issue, a width issue, maybe even a blister issue, check the sizing and the fit, because that's probably the root cause of the problem. Touch or feel for the ball is one of those things that ultimately only really matters to you, because you're the only one that can feel the ball on your feet. And while across the board, the majority of football boots have gotten pretty thin, there's still quite a bit of variety in regards to feel for the ball that you'll find from one football boot to another. Now, I'm not saying that changing your football boots will improve your touch on the ball, but I definitely have found over the years, and again, personal preference is a huge element of this, that when I wear boots that have a little bit more padding to the upper versus boots that are extremely thin, offering more of a barefoot feel, when I have that little bit of padding, when I can feel that dampening on my foot when the ball makes contact with my football boots, I tend to have better control of the ball than that pingier, thinner, kind of barefoot style upper. And keep in mind, you might have the exact opposite preference where you want that super raw sensation like you're not wearing any shoes at all. But I can tell you, for me personally, having that little bit of extra padding subconsciously makes my body do something where I tend to control the ball at least that little bit better. Just something to think about, especially if you've only ever worn one style of upper. It's worth trying something new, because you might be surprised at what your preferences actually are. Another element of touch is grip on the ball, where something like a Nike GX will provide substantially more grip than something like an Adidas X Crazy Fast. And of course, you can get used to having more or less grip on your football boots. At the end of the day, when you get a new pair of football boots, part of that break-in process is just getting used to the way that they fit and feel in general. However, when you have free choice of so many different options, why not get something with an amount of grip that is going to help you immediately rather than be something that you have to adjust to? In general, having more grip on the ball has always been promoted as a performance benefit, something that's going to improve your touch, perhaps improve your ability to shoot the ball, and in a lot of cases, that is actually true. When you wear an upper that is a little bit stickier, like the Nike Grip material on the GX, when you receive a ball, it tends to stick to your foot and reduce the spin just that little bit more than something with less grip would have. And especially when it comes to shooting, it's easier to generate spin. It won't necessarily generate more, but you can certainly generate more spin with less speed, if that makes any sense at all. However, dribbling is also a huge part of the game, and while there might be a correct way of doing any one skill, this is not a cookie cutter sport. Everybody does things a little bit differently. And when it comes to dribbling specifically, some people are pushers and some people are draggers. If you tend to push the ball, having the extra grip isn't a big deal. You might actually prefer it. It will give you that sense of control. Where if you tend to drag the ball, having extra grip can actually result in you tripping over the ball because it's sticking to the upper due to extra friction. For example, I'm somebody that tends to drag the ball a little bit more when dribbling, so as much as I love having that additional grip when it comes to controlling the ball and particularly for shooting, I've always found that when I have less grip on the upper, I tend to dribble the ball a little bit more smoothly, a little bit more freely, and in general, it just feels more natural. Typically the reason why I tend to gravitate towards plain natural leather football boots, there's just not a lot of additional grip. Again, something to think about. And then there's traction, the grip under your feet, where as much as I believe traction is very much objective in that some stud patterns are more aggressive than others, when it comes to actual performance, I think there's still a huge personal preference aspect to it, not just in regards to how much traction you're going to get, but also how it's going to feel for you based on the way that you move. Again, the majority of football boots have kind of gravitated towards this speed first concept where everybody wants to run as fast as possible and change direction as quickly as possible. But in reality, that freedom to twist and pivot is something that I think a lot of people really undervalue. So unless you've actually tried the alternative, something with rounded studs, you might find that it just feels significantly more comfortable for you. It's also worth noting that while so many stud patterns put studs in very similar areas, whether it's because of the position of the stud or the shape of the stud, blades typically providing more grip and rounded studs providing a little bit more freedom to twist and pivot, depending on, again, how you move and how you push off of the ground, some stud patterns might not be the best for you, especially if you're finding yourself frequently slipping when making the same type of movement pattern. What that's effectively telling you is that there is not enough stud underneath your foot to prevent you from falling, which is why you slip. My point being that when it comes to traction, you want your football boots to work for you rather than work against you. And of course, having the appropriate stud pattern for the playing surface that you'll be using the football boots on is also going to be critical to the overall performance as well as your own personal safety. Wearing the wrong stud pattern on a playing surface that it was not intended for will in fact increase your risk of injury, regardless of whether or not you want to believe that. And finally, and this has absolutely nothing to do with performance, but it does restrict people in a lot of situations from trying out football boots that might actually be better for them based on personal preferences, boots by position. I can assure you with 100% certainty that your football boots have no idea what position you're playing. So whether you're a striker, a midfielder, a winger, a defender, or a goalkeeper, even the coach on the sidelines, you can wear a pair of Nike Tiempos or any other football boot for that matter. Boots by position is purely a marketing suggestion and not a rule.